Oi, this is the Profanity Gnome, and I'm here to tell you that if you're under 13 years old, fuck off this video! Get the fuck off YouTube! Get your mama to get your dad's cock out of her ears and actually be a parent! This is for adults only! And for everybody else, enjoy the video. And don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below what you think, you fuck buckets. To stand out among the crowd, even if I gotta shout out loud, till mine is the only face that you see. Gonna stand out till you notice me. Hey, come on guys, saddle up. We're gonna be joining Optimus on his quest to find the Allspark. Also, we're on Cybertron. Where did you get the food to make that sandwich? This is War for Cybertron Siege Episode 5. The episode begins in the Decepticons. Megatron is currently trying to figure out what that code was that was sent from Ultra Magnus. Soundwave is able to identify it as a strange Autobot code. Unfortunately, he's unable to pinpoint the signal, but he does know that it has the very strong remnants of Alpha Trion. Megatron wants to stop that code from reaching the Autobots ASAP, and Shockwave has an ingenious solution. If they want to be sure to wipe out the code, he whipped up a virus that could wipe out all Autobot code throughout the planet. But since most of the infrastructure of the Cybertron runs on Autobot code, that could mean very much detriment to their planet. In other words, they won't be able to survive without the Autobot code. So doing this plan would essentially hurt the planet at large. But Megatron isn't even thinking or considering the consequences anymore. This is Alpha Trion they're talking about. The Autobots can't have that code. So he tells Shockwave to go through with the plan. But as the means of transmitting the code, why not through its original source? Alan? How soon can you whip up a firewall for that? You not only want me to whip up a firewall for a code that's Cybertronian, but one specifically made by Decepticon Shockwave, the most smartest Decepticon in the ranks? Let's find out. Well, we cut back to the Autobots as they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with Jetfire. Optimus then asks, why did you defect from the Decepticons? And Jetfire is pretty straightforward. Because the Decepticons he joined isn't what they ultimately became. Genocide was not on his table when he signed up for this war, and he wants to stop Megatron before he makes a grave mistake. And while his words are true, the Autobots don't necessarily trust him 100%, and as they shouldn't. Well, we later cut to Bumblebee as he's trying to pinpoint the location of the Allspark. While he does know where it is, they have to pinpoint it on the map because Cybertron has changed from when the codes of knowing the location were put into his head. Anyway, Optimus joins up just as they figure out the location, and it's in the Sea of Rust. Not an ideal location, as Alita once says that no Autobot has ever entered the Sea of Rust and made it out in one piece. They wanted to wait for it to resurface somewhere else, but Optimus says no, we have to get the Allspark, because getting the Allspark, leaving the planet, and taking it with us must happen all at once. Otherwise, it won't work. And Bumblebee makes an offer. While no Autobot has ever circumnavigated the Sea of Rust, the Decepticon Seekers have. And they just so happen to have a Decepticon Seeker willing to help them in the brig. Much to the dismay of Alita 1. Okay guys, you hold down the fort, see you when we get back. Why is it that you're going on this death-defying mission, but I'm forced to stay here? We then cut to the space bridge as Ratchet actually managed to fix it up. However, they soon have to power it up, and powering it up would relay their position and send every seeker in the area to their location all at once. It's not ideal, but it's the only option they got. So Ratchet ends up turning it on. And it works! It actually works! But as predicted, all the seekers are rallying to their location, so they're about to prepare for a dogfight. But Mirage ends up stalling that dogfight as he uses his illusion and hologram powers to make it look like it's just every other dead building. So that bought them a little time. Meanwhile, we cut back to Kaon, as Ultra Magnus has been rigged to transmit Shockwave's code throughout all of Cybertron. Again, this would mean the destruction of all Autobot code, which would severely damage the planet. But Megatron isn't thinking about that. He's thinking about winning the war. So they activate it, and what looks like Dark Energon, though I can't say for certain, but they use it to start a huge shockwave, funny, as they purge all the code throughout Cybertron. Alan, anytime you want to get that firewall up will be good with me. I'm working as fast as I can. We cut back to Optimus as they brought Jetfire into the meeting. While they do know that Jetfire is probably their only hope of circumnavigating the Sea of Rust, they don't still entirely think it's a good idea, even though Jetfire is more than willing to help. Even Optimus is unsure. But that's when we get hit with Prowl lore. Jetfire informs us that Prowl was part of a district that had a lot of crime in the early days of the war. And in order to stop that crime, they developed a very specific method of rigging the brain to where if they don't comply, would blow up. Jetfire volunteers for the surgery. It would be a quick and easy fix, but rigging himself to blow up would nullify the fact of trust, because if he wanted to stay alive and all. And while most saw this as inhumane, it does alleviate the risks greatly, so Optimus okays it. But they still have yet another problem. The problem that they had from the beginning. They don't have enough energon to get off the ground. But Bumblebee once again comes up with a solution. And this one I feel like is more in character with him. As it turns out, he knows a guy with a lot of energon. A not Autobot, but not Decepticon either. A neutral party, named Sound Blaster. Unfortunately, to get the energon, they'll have to steal it. So now this has become a heist movie, much again to Elite One's dismay. So we cut to the dead of night and... Is that RC? Hey RC, how's it going? Haven't seen you the whole series, how's it been? Well, RC and Bumblebee, as well as that one guy who got a hole thrown in him, end up going to the base with all the energon that the Autobots have left, because they have to make it look like they have something to exchange. And after getting all the clear, they're in. We then cut to the Sea of Rust, as Team Allspark Retrievers is already running into a whole lot of problems with a lot of lightning storms. But Jetfire is able to alleviate the lightning pretty easily. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for the giant rust tornadoes. What kind of Mad Max bullshit is this? But sadly, when it rains, it pours. As they're starting to receive word back at Autobot base that Autobot outposts have been going offline one by one. The code of Shockwave is well into effect at this point. And after a quick cameo of Cliffjumper before his inevitable death, because at this point that's a running meme, Elite One is trying everything she can in order to keep control, to the point where it's time to initiate Project Exodus, to get as many Autobots off the planet as possible. but the ship isn't even close to being ready to take off. We cut back to the desert, as those rust storms are getting worse and worse all the time, where Prowl ends up getting caught in the midst of the tornado. But thankfully, Jetfire, who's used to circumnavigating these deserts, and winds up flying into the storm, catching Prowl and bringing him back to safety. And it gets to the point where even they're questioning whether or not it was the right move to put that bomb in his head. But Jetfire says, no, that's the right move. And Optimus says, lead on. We cut back to Bumblebee, RC, and that one guy with a hole in his chest, as we cut to Sound Blaster, a genetic clone of Soundwave. And no, that is canon. Bumblebee even states it. But this Sound Blaster is more like a mafia boss. The way he acts and behaves. And it seems like Bumblebee is an old friend of his. Or, at the very least, a partner in crime. And he's surprised that Bumblebee is back so soon with more Energon. But Bumblebee tries to play it off. But then we cut back to the space bridge. Mirage at this point has been going on for a very long time, and unfortunately he's unable to keep up the pressure, causing their position to be exposed. As Ratchet puts it, the dang fool nearly ran out of Energon. So, it's fighting time. But the fight is going to be happening on more ways than one, as the Shockwave's code has finally reached the Autobot ship, as systems go black worldwide. Even the hologram projector that they were keeping their base hidden with goes offline, leaving the ship exposed, and the Autobots in the dark. Okay, now I'm figuring out why we had to stay behind. Sink or swim, boys! Well, news of everything managed to reach Megatron's ear, as Starscream reports that they found the space bridge with Autobot activity. And Shockwave and Soundwave managed to find the spaceship that the Autobots were holding their base in. Megatron realizes the opportunity and demands all Decepticons to charge forward. This is going to be the end of the war. We cut back to Bumblebee, as him and the RC manage to get into the Energon chamber. And that's when they propose their double cross, as the guy with the hole in his chest transforms into a mounted turret on RC's shoulders, and they're able to blast the guards. Bumblebee is able to steal some Energon, but unfortunately, Sound Blaster was onto him from the beginning. He knew what his plans were, and he's not about to let two prized Autobots slip from his grasp when he can sell them to the Decepticons. And as for Bumblebee, I'm sure they would be more than happy to pay for him too. And we cut back to the Sea of Rust, where Team Optimus managed to find a large crevice. They sink down into the depths, and this is apparently where the Allspark is currently located. But nothing seems right about all this. Even Optimus says that it sounds like the Matrix is screaming, "Get out of there!" And for good reason, as now we have the introduction of Zombie-Cons, or as Transformers likes to put it, Terror-Cons. Zombie Transformers rising from the depths in heaps and droves. And, the worst part yet, they're surrounded. So nothing seems good right now for the Autobots. And that was War for Cybertron Siege, Episode 5. What a cliffhanger. Literally everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. This show has been always more atmospheric than action-packed, but they are building up to one hell of a conclusion. Get the Allspark, get the Energon, get the space bridge defended, it's all going downhill. But the lower the possibilities of success, the higher the action and everything else once the conclusion happens next episode. So, I hope you'll still be there waiting with us as we conclude with War for Cybertron Episode 6 next time. Until then, we're the Cartoon Gentlemen. We organize your chaos. And we'll be here to fight alongside our Autobot buddies in this exciting conclusion. Alright, everybody, it's Make Your Mama's Proud time! Oh, love my mama! Ha! To stand out among the crowd, even if I gotta shout out loud, till mine is the only face that you see. Gonna stand out till you notice me.